Welcome boys to my class. In today's class we'll do chemistry, and today's chapter that we'll discuss here, it is metals and non-metals. Before I start or I go in details with this chapter, let us know what are metals and non-metals first. In class 9 you have studied about these metals and non-metals. Preliminary idea you have. Anyway, we'll give some revision work on that. First of all, what are metals? Metals are the elements, except hydrogen, which form positive ions by losing electrons. They have 1, 2, 3 electrons in the outermost shell of their atoms. Whereas in case of non-metals, non-metals are the elements which form negative ions by gaining electrons. They have usually 4 to 8 electrons in the outermost shell of their atoms. Now we'll discuss about the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Now, by the appearance of this substance, metals and non-metals, we can easily distinguish between metals and non-metals. Generally, all the metals, when they are pure in state, they have a shining surface. So, this property of metals is known as metallic luster. So, you can say that all the metals have a metallic luster. Some metals may look dull, but if we rub their surface with sandpaper again and again, we'll find that it will show shining surface. Metals in their pure state is very hard and we cannot cut it with a sharp knife. Next is that the physical state. Now, all the metals are in solid state at the room temperature, except in the case of mercury. So, mercury is the only liquid metal. You have seen mercury in thermometer, especially the clinical thermometer. The shining substance inside the thermometer is nothing but mercury. So, all the metals are solid in their pure state except mercury in room temperature. Next, metals, they have high boiling point. All the metals, they have high melting points. Like iron is melting point is near about 1000 degree centigrade. Next property of metals is that metal shows malleability. Now, what is malleability? Malleability is the property by which metals can be beaten into sheets. It is called malleability. like iron sheets and all. If we go on hammering this one, we can make it flattened. So on generally, what will say that malleability is on hammering all the metals change into the form of sheets, and this property of metals is called the property of malleability. You have seen the silver foil over the sweets, so it is a good example of malleability of silver metal. Next physical property is ductility. Metals can be drawn into very thin wires, and this property of metals is called ductility. Gold and silver are the best ductile metals. From a small amount of gold, we can prepare long threads of, or long wire, not threads, long wires of gold. So this property of metals is known as ductility. Next property is conductivity. Now, all the metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. You'll find that in electric wire, the domestic electric wire, or in that roadside, whatever electric wires are there, all these are made up of metals only, either copper or aluminium. Color of the metals, all the metals are of bright colors. Then what left? Okay, all the metals are sonorous. That means when you strike any metal piece on some hard surface or within any hard substance, whenever we'll strike any metal piece, it will create a sound. Great example of this is the bell. When the bell is struck with a hammer, it creates a sound. So on the basis of these physical properties, we can distinguish between metals and non-metals. Now, all the metals except mercury are hard and solid at room temperature, whereas in case of non-metals are solid and gases except bromine, which is liquid. Another comparison between metals and non-metals like that, melting point and boiling points are very high in case of metals, whereas in case of non-metals, melting point and boiling points are comparatively low. Metals are good conductor of heat and electricity, whereas in non-metals, they are not good conductors of heat and electricity, except graphite, that is good conductor of electricity. Example of graphite as a good conductor of electricity, can you give? If you know, write in the comment box. Metals have a shiny luster and can be polished, whereas non-metals have no luster and cannot be polished except graphite, and iodine, which are lustrous, but they are non-metals. Metals are malleable and ductile, whereas non-metals are neither malleable nor ductile, but brittle. They can be changed into small pieces on hammering. Any non-metals, if it is hammered, it will break down into smaller pieces. That is why it is termed as non-metals are brittle in nature. Metals are sonorous. That means it creates sound. Non-metals are non-sonorous. Again, next, metals form positive ions by losing electrons, whereas non-metals forms negative ions by gaining electrons. Metals, mostly they form alloys and amalgam, whereas non-metals, they do not form alloys and amalgam. So these are the basic differences between the properties of metals and non-metals. So up to this much you came across various terms, and these terms you should learn or you should note down properly for your objective questions, like luster, density, then you have malleability, ductility, conductivity, sonorous. Two more points that I will explain here, that is tensile strength. Now, what is tensile strength? The property due to which a substance can bear a lot of strain without breaking is called tensile strength. Metals generally have high tensile strength, but zinc, arsenic and antimony, they are exception to this rule. That means, what is the term that metals generally have high tensile strength. In case of zinc, arsenic and antimony, their tensile strength is less. And another thing is that, another point, that is allotropes and allotropy. Now, carbon, in case of carbon is a non-metal, we know that. Now, carbon can, or some non-metals can exist in different physical form. So here each physical form is called its allotropes, and the phenomenon is called allotropy. So this is also important term to remember. What are allotropes and what are allotropy? Now next we will discuss about the formation of ionic compounds. First of all, we will see the formation of sodium chloride, NaCl. Now we know the electronic configuration of sodium is 11. It is an electropositive element. So sodium is an electropositive element which can attain the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas. Which one? Neon. Neon having 2 plus 8. In the outermost shell, it is having 8 electrons. So it can attain the electronic configuration of nearest noble gas neon by losing or by donating 1 electron from its valence shell to form sodium ion, because in sodium first shell it is having 2 electrons, second shell it is having 8 electrons, and in the outermost shell it is having 1 electron only. So they can easily lose or they can donate 1 electron to form a balanced shell. So that's what happens. It becomes positive ion, sodium Na plus, that is sodium ion. Similarly, the electronic configuration of chlorine atom is 2, 8, 7. That means in first shell it is having 2, second shell it is having 8, and last outermost shell it is having 7 electrons. It is an electronegative element which can attain electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas, argon. Argon has 2 plus 8 plus 8, that is 18. In first shell 2, second shell 8, and outermost shell also 8. The chlorine can attain the electronic configuration by accepting 1 electron in its valence shell to form chloride ion. It is Cl minus. The positively charged sodium ion attracts the negatively charged chloride ion with a strong electronic force and hence binds them with each other with an ionic bond. The bond forms between the sodium and chlorine. It is termed as ionic bond. And the compound sodium chloride is formed. Now, the combination of sodium atom and chlorine atom to form sodium chloride can be represented by geometric diagram, dot diagram, and ionic equation. So look at the diagram of this geometric diagram with the electronic configuration with that shell, first shell, second shell, and third shell. You see in sodium it is outermost shell, it is having 1 electron, whereas in chlorine outermost shell having 7 electrons, and we know that outermost shell can accommodate maximum 8 electrons. So 1 electron from sodium, it moves to the outermost shell of chlorine, forming an ionic bond, and as a result what happens, the sodium also gets stable, so also chlorine, and it forms a compound sodium chloride. Same thing it is represented with dot diagrams and also with ionic diagram. Now this is the structure of sodium chloride crystal. Next diagram, it is the two-dimensional ionic bonding in sodium chloride crystal. Similarly, the way it forms the bond of or formation of sodium chloride, similarly we will see the formation of magnesium chloride. The electronic configuration of magnesium, it is 2 plus 8 plus 2, that is 12. So it is an electropositive element which can attain the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas, that is neon. Neon is having 2 plus 8, that is 10. By donating, in case of sodium it is 1 electron, but in case of magnesium, since the number of electron is 12, by donating or losing 2 electrons from its valence shell, so as to form magnesium ion. In case of sodium, it is Na sodium Na plus, but in case of magnesium, since it is donating or losing 2 electrons, it is Mg plus 2. Similarly, the electronic configuration of chlorine atom, it is 2 plus 8 plus 7. Same we have done in case of sodium chloride. Now, we know that chlorine is an electronegative element which can attain the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas argon by accepting one electron in its valence shell to form chloride ion Cl-. Now, there is a snag. A single magnesium atom donates 2 electrons from its valence shell, whereas a single chlorine atom can accept only 1 electron in its valence shell. Thus, in order to accept another electron, because chlorine can accept only 1 electron, whereas magnesium can lose or donate 2 electrons. So, in order to accept another electron donated by magnesium, which is extra electron, there must be another chlorine atom. So, in simple way, you can say that one magnesium atom will combine with 2 chlorine atoms. Clear? Because chlorine can accommodate only one. Outermost shell of chlorine, it is having 7 electrons. So it can accommodate or accept only 1 electron to make valence shell, 8 electrons. So it will require 2 chlorine atoms. Now, the combination of 1 magnesium atom with 2 chlorine atoms to form magnesium chloride can be represented by same way in case of sodium chloride we have done, that is geometric diagram, dot diagram and ionic diagram. You can see the diagram how it forms. In case of magnesium chloride, you see 1 magnesium atom, it combines with 2 chlorine atoms. Okay, in first diagram with that electronic with that shell and all, you can see similarly in dot diagrams also or in ionic diagrams also. Next we will discuss the properties of ionic compounds, or you can say the characteristics of ionic compounds. Now we know that ionic compounds are formed by oppositely charged ions which have strong electrostatic forces of attraction. So ionic compounds exhibit various characteristics. Let us see what are those. Now, first one, that is physical state. Due to strong force of attraction between positive and negative ions are arranged quite close to each other in ionic compounds. So, they are generally solids and brittle. Now, what is brittle? Properties of physical properties of nonmetals, that times I told you, that is it break into pieces on striking or applying pressure, that is brittle. Next characteristics or properties of ionic compounds are that melting points and boiling points. Now, to overcome the strong interionic electrostatic force, the considerable amount of heat energy is required. So, melting and boiling points of ionic compounds are generally comparatively high. Solubility of ionic compounds due to presence of ions, that is charged atoms. Okay, they are soluble in polar solvents such as water and insoluble nonpolar solvents such as kerosene, alcohol, petrol or benzenes, etc. change into ions. In solution or molten state, they change into ions, their respective ions. Next property or characteristics of ionic compound is that conductivity of electricity. Now, conduction of current, that is electricity, involves movement of charged particle, and we know that in aqueous solution or molten state, ionic compounds change into ions, so they can conduct electricity in aqueous solution and molten state. So in molten state or aqueous solution, ionic compounds are conductors of electricity. Now next one more question may arise, that is, are solid ionic compounds conductor of electricity? And if it is so, then why? Now the answer is no. Solid ionic compounds are not conductors of electricity. They cannot conduct electricity. For the conduction of electricity, movement of charged particles involves. For the conduction of electricity, the movement of charged particle involves. Ionic compounds in solid states have strong electrostatic force of attraction, and charged particle ions are not free to move and not able to conduct electricity. So this is the reason why solid ionic compounds cannot conduct electricity, or solid ionic compounds are not conductor of electricity.